Hello, very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Vista Lounge. My name is Fernando, I'm the cruise director, and I have to say on behalf of all the officers, crew, and our captain, Domenico Lubrano, it's a great pleasure to have here the members of United States Army Small Ships. A few days ago, Mr. Kite approached us and volunteered himself to conduct this service in here, so I would say thank you very much, Mr. Katz. And of course, it's my pleasure to introduce him, ladies and gentlemen. So let's welcome to share here the stage this afternoon, the treasure of the United States Small Ships, Mr. Vernon Kite.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly a great honour for me to be here, not only to look at the people that have come up to really give patronage to a lot of sailors in this particular bay that lost their lives. Unfortunately, my father was one of them. And to go and see the spot where there's 5 other ships laying in this bay, it really was very nostalgic for myself. I'm glad I waited 70 years to get to the spot and see the man. He was a great man, and he gave his heart and soul for the country like a lot of other young fellows. And for you people to come here today and listen to our memorabilia of that situation, I applaud you and I thank you very much for turning up. Now, we're sorry also that we had the top deck lined up, that we were going to have it there, but unfortunately the clement weather didn't allow us to. We thought about it, but unfortunately all the seats and everything's wet. So I hope you understand that, well, you're in a comfortable seat anyhow. So I to extend a very warm welcome to you, all on the 75th anniversary commemorative service, in memory of merchant seamen and Navy seamen of all nationalities that died during World War II. Today we commemorate the service of thousands of brave men, boys from all over the world. It's impossible for us to know exactly how many seamen lost their lives during campaigns throughout the Atlantic, the South-West Pacific areas. However, we do remember their sacrifice and hold dear to those values of honour, courage and mateship, which were so profoundly exemplified by their service to their country. During May 1942, Japanese attempts to invade and occupy Port Macquarie were repelled by combined Australian and US forces during the Battle of the Coral Sea, resulting in the combination loss of 1,622 servicemen. 5 days ago, on the 6th of September, marked the 75th anniversary of the defeat of the Japanese forces by Australian forces defending Milne Bay. The action was the first undoubtedly defeat of the Japanese forces on land and prevented further movements by sea against Port Moresby. You wouldn't believe it, I come from Port Macquarie. Sorry about that. I knew I had to tongue twist one. At that time, only a handful of Americans were at Milne Bay, some of whom were awaiting the arrival of the first US Army small ships, which happened to come around the bend as fishing trawlers from the Australian people. Small ship section employed men, boys from all over the world, including more than 3,000 Australian civilians who were ineligible for service with the Australian Imperial Forces due to their age or physical disability. The ages went anywhere from 14, 16, 18 and disabled. So the Australian people didn't flinch at anything that they had to do hard to protect Australia. And thank God that they did, because they lost a lot of lives in giving us the outcome to what we have today, whether it may be good or bad. Now, the US Army attacks landed from the Pacific. They were crewed also by the Army Radio Command Post vessels. Supported by Alliance Advance with troops and supplies from the Battle of Boona and Fishiken, Ley and Holland, Oleander, the Philippines and eventually the occupation of Japan. The Australian members of the small ships, I knew I shouldn't have had that last bit. Sections were unrecognised in their own country for more than 60 years after peace was declared. Thank you for joining us to commemorate Small Ship Section and the service offered to sacrifice the seamen of all nations and branches of service. It's my great pleasure to introduce you to Sister Mary Lee, OAM, who will lead us in prayer. Thank you, Sister.
Thank you, Vern, and good evening. And I'll just reiterate Vern's welcome to you all to be here. I suppose in essence our commemorative service began when we came on board this lovely vessel in Sydney, and since then we've been sharing stories and some very intimate memories of our connection with the US Army small ships, the men and boys as we know them, and often refer to them as the men and boys from the Forgotten Fleet. But of course they're not forgotten, as we can see. I suppose when we sit here now in peace and comfort, and great comfort on this beautiful ship with beautiful seafarers and captains and crew to look after us, it's hard to imagine what it was like here 75 years ago, but it certainly wasn't like this. So that's something we have to be very grateful for, not only to the US Army small ships, but for all the other Allied services who gave their lives and gave their commitment. Just a little thing about the service this evening. On the inside page you'll notice we have a hymn by the name of Eternal Father. Now I'm sure many people here know this hymn. The thing about it is we don't have our regular choir here this evening, so we'll be needing a bit of assistance when we get to that hymn. And even if you hum along or sing along, it is a hymn very close to the hearts of seafarers, particularly merchant seafarers. And while it has a Christian sort of an influence in it, it's not exclusive. It's actually pointing to the importance of relationships. In the hymn, of course, it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, but in actual fact, it's referring to relationships, something that was very important here 75 years ago, and something that's equally important tonight. Opening prayer. Heavenly God, Creator of the seas, bless us as we assemble for this most solemn remembrance. We give thanks for all your servants who go to sea in ships, and those who have paid the supreme sacrifice by giving their lives in the service of their nation. The passing of 70 years has not diminished our love and gratitude for the thousands who went to sea and never returned, and for our brother shipmates who have gone to meet them in your loving eternal embrace. O God, grant their families today and in the days hereafter peace and comfort in the glory of their service to their fellow men, and in the knowledge that they sail with you, O Lord, our Maker and Protector. Now if the choir members could come forward, and we will lead the hymn, but please join in. Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm hath bound the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Christ, whose voice the waters heard, and hushed their raging at thy word, who walkest on the foaming deep, and calm amidst its rage didst flee. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. Most Holy Spirit, who didst rule upon the waves, dark and rude, and bid its angry tumult cease, and give for wild confusion peace. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Trinity of love and power, our brethren cheering dangers out, from rock and tempest, fire and foe, protect them where sorely they go. Thus evermore shall rise to thee, dark hymns of earth from land and sea. Thank you, and I think we did very well. I'd like now to call on Mrs. Robin Kite to read the psalm for us. Thank you, Robin.
Some went out on the sea in ships. They were merchants on the mighty waters. They saw the works of the Lord, his wondrous deeds in the deep. For he spoke and stirred up the tempest that lifted high the waves. They mounted up to the heavens and went down to the depths. In their peril their courage melted away. They reeled to and fro and staggered like drunken men, and are at their wits' end. Then they cry upon the Lord in their trouble, and he bringeth them out of their distress. He makes the storm calm, so that the waves are still. They are glad because they are quiet. So he bringeth them to their desired haven. Oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works of the children of men.
And now as we move into our most solemn part of our service, I'd like to call Mr. Harry McNaughton to recite the ode. Thank you, Harry.
They have no graves but the cruel sea, no flowers lay at their head. A rustic hut is their tombstone, fast at the ocean's bed. They shall grow not old, that we are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
be seated.
Thank you, Sister Mary. I wrote this poem on the second day of when we were on board the Golden Princess after attending a meeting of the Small Ships Association, which was planning this commemoration. My wife and I have no direct connection with the brave souls we remember this evening. We wish, however, to give a voice of gratitude to those who served and to those who conceived this event in honour of the brave. Small ships, brave hearts. We sat uncertain of our belonging, chairs forming a circle like friends around a campfire. We sat just outside the throne light, warmed by the heat of radiated remembrance. Voices in turn spoke of the men of their families, fractured images of memory surfacing to be shared. A suitcase, dilapidated, discarded, its contents long forgotten, or perhaps to most never known. A paper torn in half, perhaps by careless handling. The number which had eluded her now burning through her tears. Wisp of memory carried on the air, heated by a fire of concentrated love. He said, "My father and grandfather knew the cost of defending our country in these islands. Their actions, like those of many others, we remember now." Fractured images on sepia photos, scraps of letters in careful folds, jammed tightly into a ration tin. He was never the same, my mother said. Never recovered the joy nor the spontaneity of life. Wounds of battles fought long ago, now mostly healed. Such is the recovery power of the body. Damaged minds know not the healing balm of time. Stories and memories half recalled, half told. They are like elusive eddies of smoke rising from the fire, carrying a message of deep rekindled love. We sat, uncertain of our belonging, on the outer rim of the warming glow, touched forever by the passion of those discovering the past. Through their endeavours, those once forgotten will be acknowledged and remembered with respectful gratitude.
Thank you, Paul. And so we come to the closure of our official service, but I'm sure we will go on this evening telling stories and in fact for the rest of our lives. We hold in our hearts tonight, of course, the many men and boys from this association who've crossed the bar in recent peacetime. And we hold in our hearts those veterans who were unable to travel with us. And I suppose as long as we continue with radical acts of kindness in our own daily lives, their memory will never be forgotten. So our blessing tonight is for all of us really, and for all seafarers, especially on the Golden Princess, and for all seafarers out there tonight who may be in peril in the sea, whether they be on merchant navy vessels or naval vessels. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Amen. And I'll just invite Vern for closing remarks. Thank you.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that little segment that we done here tonight. We've certainly put a lot of work into it. And once again, I'd like to offer my appreciation to the Princess Line's staff. So, good night everybody, and I thank you very, very, very much for coming along and enjoying our ceremony here tonight. God bless.
And just a final word, maybe there are people here who may have got some connection with the men who sailed in these vessels. So I'm sure Brad and Vern and Harry could answer any questions or maybe queries, or sometimes it's times like this that we discover our stories, our history. So thank you.